Hello everyone! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It has now been a little bit over 2 weeks since I first got the iPad Air, and I've been using iPads and MacBooks for a while now, and honestly, like from the in-store experience to like actually having the product is just having an Apple product is so exciting. So I know you guys are here because you are probably thinking, should I get the new iPad, or you're here because you just enjoy like reviews and unboxings, which honestly same. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So first question first, should I get an iPad? And I feel like it really depends on your situation and what you're going to use it for. And I say this because the iPad is really good at doing certain things, but I feel like in certain areas it still can't fully replace a laptop just yet. So for example, if you're using Adobe apps like Illustrator or Photoshop, there are alternatives available on the iPad, but I feel like it's still a little bit different to the versions you're going to get on your computer. And apps like InDesign as well, I don't think they're available on the iPad just yet. So if you use apps like these a lot, then the iPad might be a nice addition to get in addition to your laptop, but it can't fully replace a laptop just yet. Now, if you're a student whose main purpose for your iPad would be something like note-taking, then I feel like the iPad is honestly a very, very nice option. You kind of have the flexibility of using it as an iPad with the touch screen, and you can also get the Apple Pencil if you wanted to like handwrite your notes, but obviously in a digital format. Or if you wanted to use it like a computer, you can get the Magic Keyboard or just another keyboard extension to be able to type. So I feel like that's very nice that you kind of have the flexibility of doing either option, like handwriting or typing. The other thing is you also don't have to carry a lot of notebooks, because obviously you can have all your notebooks in the one place, and it just saves a lot of space, paper, and just like time in general. If you wanted to find notes, like you can use the search function, which obviously you can't really do in a paper pen format situation. If your textbooks are available online, or you can find free PDF versions, then this might also save some money in the long run as well. And another thing is you can also undo, change, resize, reformat. Like these are things that you can't really do on pen and paper, especially if you run out of space. Like I know for me, I've definitely left like gaps to fill in class before, and then in class I realized I didn't leave enough space. So in the end, it's like really awkward because I have to cut another piece of paper and then stick it in, or like use sticky notes, or like find it, be like one here and then do it one on a different page so that I know when to skip to this page or that page, and then that can get a little bit confusing. So obviously on a digital format, you can just move things around more freely so that you can have more space if you didn't leave enough space for things. If you did a subject that was really content heavy and you had a lot of diagrams or drawings that you needed to use, then this is also really nice because you can directly insert what you find into your document or your notes, rather than having to leave space and then redraw at a later date, or saving space to print and then stick it in sometimes because you might forget about it, or you don't leave enough space, or something like that. So I feel like this is really time saving as well. But with that being said, I've also had friends who have kind of stopped using their iPads, or use it a lot less than they did because their note-taking style has changed, or for example, the subjects that they're doing just don't really require that style of note-taking anymore. I feel like if the only reason you're getting an iPad is for note-taking, then it's important to consider your own note-taking style and the subjects that you might be taking to see whether it's worth it in the long run. If you're getting the iPad in addition to a MacBook, I feel like this is also a very, very nice option as well. Like everything across the Apple ecosystem works really seamlessly together, and I use the built-in, I think it's like mirroring display, built-in second display or something like that, where basically I can have my MacBook and my iPad side by side, and then I can like drag windows and things across each like device. and that works really well. I've also done it with like my mouse, so I can like use one display primarily, but then I can drag my mouse and use it on the other device, and that honestly helps with my workflow so much. It's like one of my favorite features that they've added. So for example, with Adobe Illustrator, I prefer the laptop version, and I find that it's just nicer because I primarily work on my MacBook, so I will like drag that across to my iPad, so then I can use the Apple Pencil and my iPad touchscreen to like draw things and make it really precise. I really hope Apple makes like a device in the future that has like a MacBook touchscreen, because that would just be really, really nice. But yeah, like I think it's just, yeah, I use this feature a lot and I find it to be really, really helpful. Overall, whether I think it's worth getting an iPad is just really dependent on your situation and what you're going to use it for. Now to the second question, should you upgrade to the new iPad Air? And I thought I would first begin with outlining kind of a couple differences that the new iPad Air has. So I'm not gonna go into like all the specs and the details, because I feel like, I mean, at least most people, I reckon, when you use an iPad, you don't really think like, oh, there's an M2 chip in here and it feels a lot slower or faster than another chip, or the brightness is, I don't know, like, yeah, so I'm not gonna go into like the specs and the details about things, but I will say that I think the display is very, very nice. I have noticed that it looks a little bit crispier than my like other iPad that I was using previously. So I think I was using the 2020 or 2021 iPad Pro. I feel like it looks a little bit more crispy around the edges and things like that, and it does feel very fast. I haven't had any issues with like anything lagging. There's also some very pretty colors, like the addition of the blue and purple and starlight, which are just, they're so pretty, in addition to obviously your usual space gray. The front-facing camera has also now moved from like kind of the short length to the longer length of the iPad, which is very nice, because if you're using it for like Zoom or FaceTime, then you kind of now appear in the center of the frame rather than like, yeah, it looking a little bit weird. But yeah, there's some of the main changes, and obviously now they also offer a new 13-inch size in addition to the original 11-inch, which I'll get into a little bit later, but I think it's really, really nice. And the new iPad Air still doesn't have Face ID, but it does have the Touch ID in the top button, and honestly, I haven't really noticed like anything. I don't think it's a big deal breaker, and yeah, like now that I've been using this so much, like when I go and use my iPad Pro, I just find myself going to use Touch ID even though that one has Face ID. And the storage sizes start at 128 gigabytes and then it goes all the way up to 1 terabyte. So there's a lot of options if you wanted to choose from as well. It also supports the new Apple Pencil Pro, and I just feel like it's super thin, super light. Like it caught me a little bit off guard by how thin and light this was. If you want to kind of look at my unboxing video, I'll have that linked in the description below. But yeah, I haven't had any battery or overheating issues either. It's just when I did use FaceTime, I felt that the battery was used more quickly, but I didn't really have any issues, and obviously it's video call. So yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons to get the new iPad Air is its compatibility with Apple Pencil Pro at like a more affordable price. I feel like if you're an artist, especially, there's some really nice features like barrel roll or hover, which might be really helpful to have. The Apple Pencil Pro also, like, yeah, even as a non-artist, I feel like you could use it for like calligraphy, or if you just want a better workflow in general. If you find that you use your iPad a lot, then I feel like having the Apple Pencil Pro is a very nice like addition to have. There's also the new feature squeeze, which is like when you squeeze the pencil, like a palette or something pops up. I think you have the option to customize it as well. So instead of having to like drag your hand across the iPad to wherever you need to go, like you can just squeeze the pencil and then the palette, or I think whatever you customize it to be, kind of just pops up. So I feel like that's really convenient and really nice in terms of workflow. And also my personal favorite, which is hover. So when you hold your pencil close to the iPad screen, you can kind of see where you're going to draw or where you're going to erase. And I use Procreate a lot for making my Instagram posts or sometimes for my YouTube thumbnails as well. So I just find that to be really helpful because then you know exactly where you're going to draw or erase. Whereas in the past, I've definitely had it happen where I just have to continuously undo until I do exactly or precisely or accurately or whatever that I wanted to do. So I feel like having the hover option, you can see exactly where you're going to draw, and I just think that that is a very nice option to have. If you wanted to see more of the Apple Pencil, then I'll have my unboxing video linked in the description below, and I kind of go into a little bit more detail about that as well. The option to have the 13-inch iPad but at a more budget-friendly price compared to the iPad Pro, I feel like is also very, very nice. The larger display is great, especially if you're only looking to get the iPad, or even just like honestly in general, I feel like it's very, very nice. At least personally for me, I feel like you really do feel the difference. It feels like you have more breathing space and obviously room to work with. But yeah, I thought I would just finish the video by summing up everything and also a little bonus thing at the end. So the pros and cons of the iPad and also the iPad Air in general. So the touchscreen obviously is one of the biggest factors. It is so nice. You have the flexibility of using the touchscreen if you wanted to draw or handwrite or or if you wanted to type. You also have the option to add on a keyboard with the iPad, so you kind of have the flexibility, whereas with a laptop or the MacBooks, like you don't really have the flexibility of being able to use it as a touchscreen surface. The second thing is that now that they have moved the camera to like the center, it really does kind of just feel like a laptop. It's very fast. It's also compatible with the Apple Pencil Pro if that was something that you wanted to look at getting. Yeah, so I feel like they're kind of the biggest things in addition to like specs and things like that. But the cons for it, I would say, is that depending on what you're using for, an iPad might not be able to fully replace a laptop just yet. So like I said before, like there might be certain apps that you usually use that aren't available on the iPad, or yeah, like things like that. And then the other thing is the hidden prices. So when you buy an iPad, if you're thinking about using it for note-taking but you're not really using it with the free app, so for example if you're looking at getting GoodNotes or Notability, then that's like an additional cost on top of getting the iPad. And then if you wanted to handwrite it, then you would also be looking at adding the price of the Apple Pencil. And then to like protect your iPad, you might be looking at getting a case, or like if you wanted the Magic Keyboard or another keyboard, then they're all kind of prices that pile up on top of the price of the actual iPad. But like with things like cases, I feel like you can use it for such a long time. But yeah, like they're kind of things that you don't really think about when you're just buying the iPad, but there are probably additional costs associated with it as well. I hope this video was helpful, and let me know down in the comments below if you're thinking about getting the new iPad, or if you have one, or yeah, like what your thoughts are about it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!